Hey, how's it going, everyone? Freddie. Um, I have the MPC 1000 out. I seriously haven't made a beat on this in like years. Um, I can't find my old compact flash cards for this, but I have one already in here, and it had some like really old beats, so I'll just play them out. But I also wanted to answer some questions. I told people to kind of submit questions from Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram, you can follow me, or if you're not following me on Instagram, you can follow me at Freddie Joachim. Um, and then with Insta Story, you can kind of post if people want to submit questions for you to answer. And I took all of those. I screenshotted them so wouldn't forget them, and I'm answering them here. But I'll play some beats on the MPC 1000 as kind of like a background thing. We'll get into a beat first, and then we'll go ahead and go through the questions. I actually have not screened any of these questions, so I'm just going to kind of skim through them. If there's some that I just can't answer, I won't. But there's some in here that I know that I can kind of answer here. Here's a beat. Yeah, that was a beat that I made on the MPC 1000 a while ago. Um, I don't even know where I took the sample from, honestly. But I'm playing the guitar on it. I usually just hook up stuff directly into the MPC 1000, like keyboards and like guitars, and I record directly into it. And and then yeah, um, but yeah, this is kind of how this was laid out, I guess. This is drums. I put the old pads on it back on the MPC too. They freaking press super hard compared to like the Renaissance and the MPC Live. Some of this stuff is muted. Oh, I think it's just all on different pads here, like it's like piano, sample, and then maybe just playing the piano. There's a guitar on here. But yeah, the first question is, let's see here. This is by Fat Boy on Instagram. He asks, the favorite thing about So 44. I'm guessing the SP44. I do have an SP44 SX. To be completely honest, I don't use it as much. I use it just as much as everybody else uses theirs, and that's for the effects, pretty much. That's my favorite thing on it. I'm pretty sure that's a lot of people's favorite things on the SP. Effects. It's super great for effects, I won't lie. If you can chain the effects, like have multiple effects at one time, it'd be so much better. But of course, the SP has its limitations. I feel like they need to update the firmware on it to kind of support this stuff. And I'm surprised that, like with the success of the popularity of the SP 404, that when they came out with that newer SP, it was just kind of like I think they added like a step sequencer or something like that on there. And it's kind of like a whatever's kind of thing. Sorry, I have to move the microphone here. It's kind of like a whatever's kind of tool. You know how tedious and cumbersome it is to make beats on that thing. Resampling and getting your pattern played correctly or just right. Crazy cats right now. But yeah, that's my favorite thing on the SP. Well, if they had a step sequencer on that thing, if they supported multiple effects for multiple pads, it would be off the chain. But since it doesn't, I don't use it as much. I use it just for the effects. Just externally putting stuff in there. Let's see here. What's up in Mellow Orange? And this was from Nano Carula, Nanocarula on Instagram. And hold on, let me load another track here. Um, Honestly, I know there hasn't been a lot of like noise from Mellow Orange. I'm not really. I'm a part of Mellow Orange, but I was only kind of like helping the head of Mellow Orange do his thing. The head of Mellow Orange, or the label owner, he's he's kind of doing a lot of things in his personal life that have been taking up a lot of his time. It's nothing bad or anything like that. But like when other things in your life take precedent into your life, you have to kind of take care of those things as well as just handle your business. And when that happens, sometimes the label kind of gets a little pushed on the back burner. It's nothing bad or anything like that, but yeah, that's up with some Mellow Orange. Let's do one more question and then we'll get into this next beat. It says, out of any equipment pictured, what would you say you use the most? Thank you, Freddie. That's from Maddie Kevs on Instagram. When I posted this question thing, I posted like a shot of my studio. I've actually gotten rid of a couple of those things since that photo, since last week. But out of all of those things that I pictured as far as equipment goes, other than the computer, right now I'm just using the MPC Live. That's like the main thing that I'm using. I'm not saying that it's the only thing I use, but for right now at this very moment, MPC Live is where I'm at, along with the software. If I didn't have the MPC Live, I'd be using Ableton a lot. And I have Ableton Push 2, so that's what I'd be using as far as controllers go. But yeah, right now, MPC Live is kind of where I'm at. Okay, let's get into a beat. I keep everything on like one program on here. Those are the drums. Let's see what this is at. Okay, let's solo this. Yeah, it's pretty much just like a loop. Turn that down and then we can answer some questions in the meantime. This is by Blackie Beats on Instagram. Just how good is the MPC Live? I absolutely love it, honestly. I'm not saying like I was solely just an MPC user in the past. I kind of bounced back and forth between hardware and software. MPC I've been using since like the 2000 XL. And this is the 1000. I've had experience with MPCs, but the newer MPCs, the MPC Live, the MPC X, is pretty much great because they kind of not fixed, but improved upon like the file system on it. Basically, you can hook up a external hard drive or a thumbnail drive, and you can take samples directly off of that stuff. So, kind of transferring files between your computer and the MPC has made it so much more easier, as well as having a touchscreen is kind of makes it a little bit easy, but it's not a deal breaker for me because I still use the MPC Renaissance when I'm in front of the computer. I don't use my MPC Live to use as a controller, because you can use the MPC Live as a controller for the software, or you can use it in standalone mode where you don't need the computer. The MPC Renaissance that I have is a controller. You have to use it with the software. So I think the MPC Live is great, honestly. And I'm very happy that Akai kind of went in that direction as far as making the MPC kind of even more usable now. And plus it has a battery on it. It has a 6-hour battery on it, so you can make beats on the road. You can take that thing anywhere you want. Let's see here. Let's see. This is from Sneaker on the Wire. Would you drop new album in 2019? And if you drop some albums in 2017, 2018, can you call me their names? 2019, yes, I'm coming out with an album. It's still TBD, to be or to be announced, basically. I don't have a name for it actually yet, but it's going to come out sometime early 2019. The albums that are previously released, you can go on my website, freddiejoachim.com, or my Bandcamp or whatever, iTunes, Spotify. There's a bunch on there, a bunch of singles. In no particular order. Midway is one of my previous albums. Study Guide with Question was another previous album. Trouvé, that was like my last kind of full release. And we came out with a beat tape, a cassette tape. Was that last year? It was kind of, yeah. I forgot what that was called. But yeah, you can go on melloworange.com to look up all this information too. This is from OG Connection B on Instagram. Do you mix your own music? Short answer, yes. Long answer, I kind of mix while I'm producing. And then as far as album goes, I kind of sit down and I have to kind of mix everything so everything's kind of cohesive as far as the overall sound as well as the overall feel. And, let's see. This is from Dotson Wizard. What drives you? There is a small little alien in... No, I'm just joking. I think other people drive me, honestly. I see my peers doing stuff like on Instagram, like small things. Seeing people post on Instagram, like their beats and stuff, and, seeing my friends kind of do crazy stuff, even though I'm maybe not in the same realm or even having the same exact sound as them. Them being creative kind of drives me, honestly. And getting a load of cash. No, I'm just joking. Let's see here. I won't try to do like the generic kind of questions. This is from J_L_H on Instagram. What was Waves a sample? How much of it is original? Waves, the Rhodes and kind of the bass line were actually from a sample pack a long time ago, like years and years ago, like maybe a sample pack from like, I don't even know, 2002 or 3, some crazy stuff like that. It's not around anymore, the sample pack. I can't say where exactly it's from, but that was a sample. That other than that, I mean, the drums, like taking the drums as a sample, like those two things were samples. And then everything else I just played. The guitar I played over it. The glockenspiel I played over it. And then we actually had somebody else replay the bass line. But yeah, and that was from JLH. Let's get into another beat here. Let me go ahead and load it. I don't even know what some of this stuff is, so if it sounds whack, then I'm sorry. It's been years. This is from PRCT_KA. What's your favorite machine? As far as music goes, my favorite machine is the MPC, honestly, only because I've kind of had a history with it. I really like Ableton Push for Ableton. It's just a controller for Ableton. Other than that, it's just kind of, I think it's a little bit wasted as far as only being a controller for Ableton. But for right now, my favorite machine is the MPC. I've always had kind of like a love for the 2000 XL as well as the 3000, even though I never owned a 3000. Same with the MPC 60. Always kind of had a love for it, but I just never kind of bought one. 2000 XL I've had But I always associate those with like growing up and like my favorite producers. So those are kind of my all-time favorite machines. This is from Benny San. What's the best piece of advice someone has given you on your setup when you first started? Um, I don't know, honestly. Like I was so young when I first started. I was just like a fetus. Um, I don't know, honestly. I mean, when I first started, I was using the computer, so um, I really can't answer that question. I don't know, honestly. I think I'd been giving my other friends more advice than them giving me. I'm just joking. I'm trying to think. But if I can give somebody advice right now, if they're just starting or building up a setup, um, is if you're going to buy equipment, try to buy it at the store. That way you can play with it. And if it's something that you feel that you can't use or you just don't like in general, you can always return it. Buying stuff used off like Craigslist and eBay doesn't really have a return policy, so you have to kind of be wary about that. There's nothing worse than purchasing like a really expensive piece of equipment and then finding out that you're not really using it the way you want to, and then you're just kind of stuck with it, and then you have to go through the process of just selling it on eBay or selling it to a friend, selling it on Craigslist. I don't even do Craigslist anymore, honestly, because I don't want to die. Let's get into this beat. It's okay, this beat. The drums are a little bit sloppy. Kind of a well-known sample. I think there's like flute in here. Wasn't there flute in here? Yeah. Oh. I obviously don't have stuff on this other stuff. Sometimes I just keep everything on one program, like A and B pads. Okay, let's just go ahead and put that down so I can answer these questions. This is from Rome Costin on Instagram. If you were on an island and could only bring 3 of these machines to make beats, what would they be? That was from the picture that I posted on Instagram. In that photo, I'll tell you if you haven't seen the photo. Maybe I have it in here, actually. I don't even know if you can see that. But that is Inception. Look at that. That's the photo right there, if you can kind of see it. I think that's what I posted. And if I can only bring 3 of those items, I would bring... Let me look at this, actually. I would bring definitely the MPC Live. I would bring the keyboard, which is a Yamaha MX49 or something. And probably that Behringer Model D. I think those are the 3 things that I would bring. Because the MPC Live is just kind of like a machine by itself. Okay, let's go into this next one here. This is from Lion Inconzo on Instagram. Do you only sample songs or also do your own thing? And it's kind of like a balance of both, honestly. A lot of it is just kind of starting with a sample and kind of manipulating a sample that I find and then adding my own stuff onto that. So that's basically kind of what I do is I kind of find a sample and then I play like keys or bass line over it and stuff like that. And then sometimes I just kind of just play the piano and then sample me playing the piano. This is from Diego Santiago. Santiago MB. Diego Santiago MB. Vintage MPC or new MPC? I don't know. Right now, probably the new MPC because it's just so much more faster to work on it. But if I was going to pick a vintage MPC, I don't know which one I would pick if I could just pick one. I'd probably, since we're saying vintage, I feel like the 2000 XL isn't vintage, you know? So I would say the 3000 only because of the history. I've never owned one. So yeah, although I do like an MPC 60 as well. Let's see here. This is from Feed Me Sushi and Mountain Dew. That's probably one of the best usernames. Feed Me Sushi and Mountain Dew. I have not drank Mountain Dew in since I was 20 years old. What's a nice synth I should cop? Here, I'll say this. It depends on what your budget is, first. Secondly, it's there has been kind of this this thing in the past few years where they say that analog synths are better than digital synths, and I think that's just only because people, when they think of the term digital synth, they think of old 80s kind of digital synths in that sense. But digital synths have gotten way better since the 80s and early 90s. When I say digital synths, you kind of think of say the Yamaha line from the 80s, what is that, the DX9, as well as maybe in the late 90s and 2000s, the Korg Triton, that was kind of an overused digital synth. But they've gotten better over the years. They kind of go in and out. Like I said, I have the Yamaha MX49, and I use that extensively, honestly, for sounds. I don't think it's the best out there, but it's good for what I do, basically. And there's a handful of just analog synths out there, vintage, brand new. Moog makes a bunch. There's the Juno series. There's the Prophet, Dave Smith Prophet series. Korg makes a bunch. Novation makes a bunch. There's a handful out there. So I would say buy one within your budget. If you can play with them before you buy them, that's great. If there's one in particular that I would say is a nice starter synth, it's maybe the Korg Minilog. That's kind of what a lot of younger or producers have been using in the past couple years, only because it'll kind of give you a basis of how synthesis works, where you can kind of turn physical knobs as well as maybe understand synthesis. And it's kind of like a hybrid in a sense, meaning you can hook it up to the computer via USB and download patches from the internet. So if you're not very happy with the preset patches that it comes with, you can download patches that people have built and load them onto this synth, which makes it kind of like a hybrid in a way. Also, it's a poly and a mono synth. I think the poly is 4 notes at a time, and of course mono synth is 1 note. Some cool things on it, I guess. This is from Yes Sir. It says, what got you into creating? I think it's just being curious. I was already a DJ, a turntablist, so that kind of just spilled into producing music. When you're a DJ, equipment already is kind of in your radar. So you buy samplers, you buy kind of effects machines and stuff like that, and then you record your own mixes. So the technical side of making music is kind of already at your disposal. Okay, let's load up another beat here. Which one was that? Okay, here we go. Do it. Okay. Let's see. This is from. Whoops. I didn't want Siri.
Sorry, Master.
I tell Siri to call me Master. This is from Goncalo Rita on Instagram. Do you release your samples that you do on Insta to YouTube? Samples in a sense that I do have a sound pack or a sample pack with Loopmasters. You can go on to loopmasters.com right now and actually purchase it. So I made a sample pack of stuff that I would use and whatnot. Um, and then the other stuff that I've been playing like on YouTube and my Instagram, I actually purchase a lot of sample packs from other producers. I really like Beat Butch's sample pack. I use his stuff a lot. Um, and then there's a few from Loopmasters that I've been using too. So there's a bunch of websites out there like Splice and whatever, Loopmasters and all this other stuff. But you can definitely buy mine at loopmasters.com. Let's see. Let's hear this beat. Okay. So this is a sample. That's me just playing the piano kind of like over it. Here's the bass line, drums. Let's see what else is on here. God, I feel like I have to frickin' push these buttons so hard on here. Okay, my cats are just going wild right now. So if you can hear that, this is them jumping around. Okay. Let's go ahead and get into some more questions here. This is from Neji Beats, or it could be Nehi Beats. How do you integrate all those machines in your workflow? And that was referring to the photo. I do, honestly. I know there's, when you have a bunch of samplers and a bunch of like controllers, it's kind of like, okay, how are you utilizing all of those? But lately I've been using the MPC Live, like I said, and then, like I'll sample into it straight from the computer, or I'll find a synth on Ableton, I'll sample directly into it, or it can go the other way. I can make something on the MPC and then kind of like export it into Ableton and then kind of build from there. So it starts with something, basically. It starts with one piece of machine, whether it's just me jamming out on the keyboard, me chopping samples on the MPC, or me just kind of doing stuff on Ableton. There is a start point, and then I try to integrate what I need from all those things. It's just good to have like all these options. I'm not saying that you necessarily need any of this stuff. You can just have a laptop and a mouse. But for me personally, like it's just good for me and what I do to have like all these options. Yeah. It's from D Minor Music. It's my friend D Minor. If you haven't checked out his music, D Minor, he did stuff with M Phases, as well as I think he shot a video with Fonte and stuff like that. But check him out. I don't know if he hasn't been recording music lately, but he did it in a few years ago. But check out his music. Do you ever think you've got too much gear and it gets in the way of the creative process? To be completely honest, I don't have a lot of gear in my eyes. To other people, it might look like a lot of gear, but into my eyes, it's a fraction of what other people own. And honestly, a handful of gear gets kind of pushed to the side and it collects dust, honestly. It happens. That's when I know to purge. I'm not a hoarder, basically. When it comes to gear, I use stuff, and if I'm really not utilizing it the way it should be, I either give it to somebody, or I sell it, or I trade it in for something else. And then, when I buy gear and there's like a return window. Did you see that monkey back there? There's a return window, I'll return it. Okay, so I'm not a hoarder. I basically keep what I actually use, and sometimes I use stuff for only like a small period of time, like a year or two, and then I feel like I've kind of outgrown it, or I need to move on to something a little bit more what I'm doing then, and I'll sell it and get something else. But yeah, it's not really like a collection. Like when I look at gear, it's not being. I'm not like, oh, I gotta get this, I gotta get that. You know, like, oh, okay, this needs to go with this and stuff like that. Um, I just don't hoard gear, honestly. I feel sometimes that um, other people can benefit from a piece of gear more than I can, so I'll sell it. This is from Kamar Goje. He says, "What's your favorite Dilla remix?" I don't know if I have a favorite. I'll say this. There was this Pete Rock song called "The X" that Dilla was on. I'm pretty sure you can find it. I think they re-released it, but Dilla did a remix to that, and that's one of my favorites. One of my favorites, anyway. And this is from Cali Boy Levi. What do you want your legacy to be? Well, that's a hard question, honestly. I don't know if I really am. I don't even think about this stuff, honestly. Legacy, as far as my music, I just want people to have enjoyed my music, honestly. And then, like looking back, like say I'm an old man, I'm kind of like looking back at my music career. Um, I can look back and be like, oh, that was fun, that's dope. Like, oh, I can't believe I did that. And, like I can kind of reminisce and be like, yeah, it's kind of cool stuff. Like that's I guess that's what I want my legacy to be an old man and look back and be like, hey, it was kind of cool back then. I was a pretty cool guy back then. But yeah, um, but yeah, I don't know. This is from JDB, which is the guy I know. He says, "Why are your pants so high?" It's called fashion, buddy. Look it up. Okay, and let's see. Do I got it? Did I get all the? Oh, there's more questions here. Hold on. Let me just kind of skim through this. I'll kind of blah blah blah. Big fan. Teach me. How do you? Okay, this is from CTW0110. What percentage of your life do you spend making music? Is it your full-time income? Um, let's say the percentage of my day or week. I would have to say, other than my personal stuff and running errands like that, I would say 80% of my day is maybe 70 to 80% of my day is actually working on music. I can't, since I do work from home, and it is kind of like my full time thing. I set a schedule for myself, just like anybody who works from home or makes music for a living. And I kind of hammer out a bunch of stuff. And sometimes, it'll spill over into the nighttime. I kind of set myself like a 9 to 5 and then kind of take a break from there. But if it does spill out into the evening times, I'll work on music, honestly. Whenever I feel like the itch to make something. Full-time income, yeah, you kind of have to grind out when you're self-employed. So, yeah. Okay. I think this is the last part of it. Let's load up one more beat, and then we'll get into the last questions. I'm sorry if this has been kind of long. Okay. Let's see here. I don't even know what this is. Let me go through this. Some of these are like duplicate questions. This is from H. Taylor Photos. Have you done a show in Detroit before? And I have not done a show in Detroit, even though I have friends in Detroit and I have a few people that I know, music artists from Detroit. I have not done a show in Detroit. But Detroit sounds like an interesting place to do a show. Not just for the hip hop scene. I know, when you kind of think of Detroit, you think of like Black Milk and Wajid and Dilla, of course, and Slum Village, big hip hop acts and DJs. But Detroit also had a big like electronic scene. Um, you know, drum and bass and some other stuff. House music, Detroit house. It'd be cool to kind of check out stuff like that. Motown. This beat's okay. Oh, there's a synth in it. Oh, I labeled these so I actually know what's going on here. Okay. Let's see. These are the last questions, and then we're going to call it quits. I think these are the last questions. Is this another question? Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, these are kind of like the last questions. Let's see. DJ Arnold asked, what happened to your old studio? And I moved, so I don't have that old studio anymore. Oh, I still kind of do, but, you know, I moved, so I don't have it. Some of these are the same question. This is from Alberto Campello, and he says, MPC or Maschine? And then he says SP404. I don't know if these are questions or just you're just naming off machines now. No, I'm just joking. And I think this goes into what 013VG also asked. He asked, Renaissance or Maschine or for sampling and creating drums. So I'll kind of put this in the same thing. For me personally, I just have been an MPC user for so long, so of course I'm going to take the MPC over Maschine. The only thing I don't like about Maschine, don't get me wrong, I think it's a great tool. I think Native Instruments did a fantastic job when it comes to creating an ecosystem that works all well together. So Contact, Massive, Tractor, Maschine, they all kind of work seamlessly together, which is great. I think that's fantastic. There's not too many other companies that kind of have done that. The only thing I don't, or what kind of stopped me from using Maschine was I couldn't import MP3s. Like, that was a big thing for me. I didn't want to convert MP3s into waveforms and then put them in. Like, I just didn't want to go through that extra step of doing things. So that's the main reason why I didn't use Maschine, is because it only supported wave and I believe AV files at the time. I mean, I haven't really opened Maschine in like years. But as far as their hardware goes, I think their hardware is fantastic because they support Ableton scripts. They support Tractor templates and stuff like that. So if you have a Maschine, the pads, whether it's a Maschine MK2 or MK3 or a Micro or whatever, you can use that with other pieces of software, which is great. I can't say that about the Ableton Push. I mean, the Ableton Push does have like a user mode that you can kind of map stuff, but as far as integrating it with other pieces of software, that's where they fall really short. The Ableton Push. Maschine, you can use it with a whole bunch of pieces of software, which is great. Cats, can you go over there somewhere else? I always do that when I'm like making a video. Now, I guess that's why I like the MPC a lot better, and that's why I like the MPC even more now, is because their file system has gotten way better. Importing MP3s, importing WAV files, whatever. I can just kind of drag and drop them in. I don't have to worry about converting anything. And I don't know if Maschine has made that change. I don't know if Maschine supports MP3s now. I can understand importing the best sounding audio file, meaning like WAV files and stuff like that. The larger, the bigger. I mean, the larger, the better. Because it's not a compressed sound. You'll get kind of high res sounds, but we're kind of living in an age where mostly everybody samples from MP3s. I don't really sit there and sample from records anymore. It's just too time consuming. And the last question. Oh, the last two questions. This is from _resurrection _. What is your favorite effect or filter? My favorite effect, putting it simply, is a delay. I think it kind of adds space to maybe something that doesn't have a lot of space, as well as kind of like a wah kind of filter. Those are my two favorite ones. And the last question, let me load one more beat, and then we'll get into this last question here. It's not like I've been saving this. Okay, I don't know what this is, but let's go ahead and load it. And I think this is a kind of a cool question. Obviously, there's nothing on here. I think that was just the last beat. I think I just loaded this one all on here, like the sounds, and then I didn't do anything. Never mind. Maybe I can find one more. Here. If this beat sucks, we're gonna get into another beat. Yep, it sucks. Let's go ahead and load this one. I think it's funny, it just like runs off a compact flash, and now we're like using like these really small micro SD cards now, and they're super fast. And then we have this big compact flash one. This one's okay. The chops are weird. It sounds like a really like sad beat. I guess I'm trying to be like Kev Brown in that beat or something. Maybe we could do one more. Uno más. Oh, this one's decent. See what's on here. Okay, some flute on here, and obviously I can't push buttons. Piano chops. There's the drums. I think I played the drums on a soft synth. So I have this basically this MIDI controller that you can play like regular drums. And then what I do is I load up a soft synth. I use Addictive Drums. I think it was Addictive Drums 2 on the computer, and then you can just kind of play along like how you would a regular drummer. And that's what I played on here. Okay. This last question is from Picture Perfect Am. Picture Perfect Zam? Sorry. He says, bedroom producers must invest in what? And that's our last question. Goodbye. No, I'm just joking. Bedroom producers. There's a bunch of bedroom producers out there. I've been a bedroom producer almost all my life. What should they invest in? I guess a good set of headphones, honestly, because you're not going to be like bumping your shit super loud, especially if you live in an apartment complex or have a shared wall or whatever, and you're trying to make beats at like 1 a.m. Headphones. Invest in a good set of headphones, I guess. Ones that you like. It doesn't necessarily have to be ones that are going to help your mix, just ones you enjoy using. I mean, of course there's headphones out there that'll fight ear fatigue, if you're constantly listening to the same things over and over and over. And there's headphones out there that are mainly geared towards mixing. There's headphones out there that are mainly geared towards DJs. There's headphones out there that are geared for just general listening. They kind of boost certain frequencies. They kind of settle down other frequencies. Consumer headphones. But just buy a pair of headphones that you're gonna enjoy using. You just gotta monitors, just like monitors that you put in your speaker monitors, that you put in your setup. You just have to know your monitors. Like if your monitor kind of accentuates a certain frequency a little bit more, you compensate that for in your mix. You know that, say, X brand name monitor, X model monitor boost the lows a little bit more than they should. So you have to kind of put that in perspective when you put that in your mix. Like, okay, I already know these kind of put out the bass a little more than they should. So let me just put that when I'm listening to my mix. Let me, make the proper adjustments. Same with the headphones. If you're just using like, Beats by Dre or something while you're mixing, it's the only headphones that you have, it's fine. Just remember that they boost the low end frequencies when you're listening to your mixes and music like that. Other than that, I don't know. Bedroom produce. Invest in a good bed. And I'm kind of half serious about that. Invest in a really good bed. Stop sleeping on a shitty mattress that your mom gave you. Go on Amazon. You can have the mattress delivered to you now. Get like a organic mattress that, helps you sleep better at night. If you're sleeping in your bedroom and you're making beats in your bedroom, you might as well sleep on something good. And I guess lastly, invest in, I don't know, good lighting. I don't want to say any specific piece of equipment because you can put whatever you want in your bedroom. Maybe a nice desk. That's it. I know we kind of all play or make beats or, become bedroom producers on a desk you get from IKEA. But invest in a decent desk. If you are getting something from IKEA, make sure it doesn't wobble around and you're constantly having to like move it around. There's nothing worse than banging on like pads or what keys, and then your desk is just going crazy, wobbling. It's making all these vibrations and stuff like that. It's nothing worse than that. They make desks out there specifically for producers or studio people. They're not too expensive. The smaller format ones, I know desk furniture can get pretty expensive. That's like the last thing you would want to spend your money on. What do you want to spend your money on? This piece of gear that's going to help you in your creative music, or this piece of furniture that's going to help you maybe organize your pieces of music. It's just basically up to you. These are investments, what I'm saying? A desk is an investment, so pick something that you're comfortable working on that's sturdy, that won't kind of break down on you. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for submitting all these questions. I'll do it again sometime. I know this is kind of like a weird video, honestly, just me answering questions to old ass beats. But I kind of wanted to come out with another video of me just playing beats on the MPC or something like that. Maybe we'll get into it like an Ableton session, and I can just bring out my push and I can just kind of go over beats on Ableton, because I think that's where my production shines the most, honestly, is using the computer. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in. Yeah, invest in a good bed, invest in a good desk, headphones, invest in, I guess those are three things if you're going to be a bedroom producer. And hopefully some of this advice has kind of helped you with your own stuff. But yeah.